Hi, it's Clark on Temptress. Today I want to talk about probably the biggest reason why most people's cruising dreams never happen. Do you need permission to go off sailing? Of course, you think of yourself as this strong person that when it's time to untie those dock lines, I'm out of here, no problem. Let me tell you, I did it. It's difficult. It's going to be the biggest, scariest decision you've ever made. Today we're going to talk about the mental of going. It's important.
In this series, we talk about how to live a more intentional life by focusing on 5 things. Defining your enough, what you need to be happy, and how you can prepare for that life. Understanding investment theory, what you need to know to get there. Developing good habits and motivations to help you along the way, and actually doing it, specific steps to work towards your enough goal. Lastly, finding community so you can connect with others striving to live an intentional life.
Okay, sailing, living the cruising life. You know, you watch the videos now. Back when I did it, I retired at 36, so internet wasn't a thing back then when I was prepping. I read books, mostly Lynn and Larry Parday's books, and oh, that was the life I wanted to live. And you think, okay, well, let's make a model. How do we do this? Well, we save up some cash so that we can get the freedom chips to get the heck out of here. That's always less than you think you need because it's cheap to live out there. We buy a boat, probably because of trying to save some budget. We buy an older boat. Also, a lot of older boats are better. And then we outfit it, and that can take a while. And then we go. Well, there's so many mental impediments that are going to keep you from that going. You've got to start thinking about them early. You've got to build a model where you see yourself out there, but you actually also really tackle that dragon that's going to try to keep you here on land, try to keep you living like everybody else. So many perfectly good cruising boats that are absolutely loved by their owner and prepared to live off grid and go to all points of the planet by water, just sit in marinas because the person can't pull the ripcord and go. Let me talk about East Coast and West Coast. I'm going to talk about from the United States. This applies anywhere in the world, but I know the United States better. I left from the West Coast. I talked to Lynn Parday years ago, and she said, it's the only place in the world I still get seasick. The oceans off Seattle are tough. It's one of the rougher areas, but more importantly, it's a long way from there to a place where you can spend the night and anchor and feel comfortable. There aren't a lot of good harbors on the West Coast of the United States. In fact, the first time I ever sailed in the ocean, the first time I really left on a real trip out into the ocean, I had ducked out in it to go to Barkley Sound and such, but to really go, I sailed all the way to Hawaii, and it was quite terrifying. But you step off that cliff and you're off that cliff and you go. Where the East Coast is different. East Coast kind of coddles you. You've got this intercoastal that you could motor all the way to Florida if you started up in the Northeast. And a lot of boats do. Or they duck out in the ocean when the weather's perfect and duck back in. They get down to Florida. It's the right time of year to do your crossing. They look at the weather, and by crossing, I just mean crossing of the Gulf Stream. It's just an overnight passage. It does have some issues, and you've got to pick your weather, but this is not the worst crossing in the world, right? And they just never do it. And they end up finding a safe place because Florida has hurricanes. I'm sure there's other ones around. Tell me where you can consider being what I'm about to describe. I call them chicken harbors. The big chicken harbor down in the Keys, I think, is Marathon. There's a lot of boats that are anchored in there, and I bet if you went down there with cash, you'd probably be able to get a perfectly founded cruising boat all set up, ready to go, because the people have kind of given up on their cruising dream before they started. They got to a place that's just before a difficult or scary or transformative passage, and they just never went. So, I guess that's some advice. That's something I've told people. If I was getting newly into cruising, I might just go down to Marathon for a vacation, get myself a little boat, and just start chatting with people. And my number one question is like, yeah, who's here that has a really great boat that probably is never going to go cruising? And they'll say, Jim down there. And then, talk to Jim, become his friend, because you're stealing his dream, so you can't just be, crass about it. But he's probably looking for an excuse to turn that dream back into cash so he can re-enter. When I first started this channel, I have this series I was doing, and this is part of that series. You might see that the introduction is a little different than you used to seeing from me. The series is Enough is Enough, and it's all about getting your act together to go cruising. Mostly in that series, I talk about the economics of it, and I get right into brass tacks, like how the stock market actually works, how to open up a brokerage account, how to live your life so that you can save to do this, how to value freedom over crap, which is a big thing in this life. There's a lot of crap that marketing tells you need to buy to be happy. You don't. And the more you depend on that crap, the more unlikely you'll ever untie those dock lines and live a different life. So, in the intro, I talk about all the different aspects of making the decision, deciding that you've got enough and you're ready to go do something new. And I mentioned the psychological of it, and I haven't done a lot on the psychological. So this is that. I've got a lot of other ideas in this direction. So if this interests you, please comment about it down below. If I hear a lot of people saying, yeah, man, the mindset, I want to work on that, I'll talk about it. If I don't, I won't, because I think most of the guys here are used to seeing me do technology. So, I'll do technology. Anyway, write about it. Also, if you haven't subscribed, please subscribe. I noticed that most of my viewers are actually watching on televisions. And I know subscribing on a television is difficult. Log in with your cell phone and subscribe, please. I want to get that 100,000 subscribers. Okay, that aside. It would be easy for me to say, oh, just man up, untie the lines and go. Well, why torture yourself? Prepare, right? And to prepare, you've got to understand where we are now and figure out a method that lets you get from one mindset to another. Watching videos from guys like me and people that are out like actively sailing right now, I'll be doing it again soon, I hope. Helps because you get to say, hey, look, they are having fun. That is a good life. Trust me, it's a good life. But you gotta have a path for your mind so that it feels good to do it. We live in this society, this culture, where there are these social rules. And one of the main social rules is be a sheep. Do what everybody else does. Well, you're not 100% sheep or you wouldn't be watching this video because, the idea of sailing is so non-sheep, but it still affects you. Trust me, it does. You might think it doesn't, but when it comes down to it, these things pull you back. So what will it entail to untie those lines and actually go? Well, you're going to basically throw away everything. You're going to transform yourself. You're going to be a different person with all the support structures ripped away, and you have to develop new ones. You're going to let go of your job. And nowadays with the internet, people are thinking, I can work out there. And technically you can. But if you try to do it that way, you will be doing your job on a boat in an uncomfortable situation. Just stay in an apartment or a house and do it. I say all in or not in. But that's up to you. You are going to lose that comfort of a house. The idea that I don't care what the weather is, I'm inside. Oh, that goes away. You're going to live on a floating vessel in the weather. So you got to watch the weather. You've got to watch, you got to know what the waves are going to be, where you are 3 days ahead. You've got to plan everything. And that's a bit of a challenge. I do promise you, if you do it for a little while, you get used to it. It becomes the new norm. Now that I'm in a house, it's kind of boring. I really don't have enough mental stimulation in that way. You're going to walk out on family. If you've got like aunts and cousins and people around that you see on a regular basis, you're not. Now, in the modern world with the internet, you can call them, you can video conference them. So that should make life a little easier that way. And friends. You're going to be walking away from all your friends that aren't going sailing with you, and very few will be. Um, you're going to make new friends, and you're going to make great friends. One of the things about going out in the cruising life that I like the best is the people all made the same decisions. So you've got this group of people that really, really, really aren't sheep. Some of them are a little crazy, but all of them think for themselves. And they are successful at some level enough to be able to get their act together and go. They certainly weren't somebody that sat there wanting the trade union to tell them exactly what to do in the next step of their career. No, they made decisions and they went. And they're retired, so they're free during the day. So you've got people to talk to like all the time that aren't in a big rush. They're not living this, working most of my life and then trying to get some fun in really, really hard before I fall asleep. No, they're out there just with the time to chat. And it's a great circle of friends. Like so many things, art has really helped us and or hurt us. But there are some literature and movies and such that I want to reference now. There is this kind of theme where a movie has a hero and the hero is going to go off and do something fantastic that's completely not part of what he was before. And to do that, he needs a transformational event to happen to him for basically the writers to let you, the viewer, believe, hey, I could do that. That happened to me. That makes perfect sense. Going sailing doesn't make perfect sense, and very unlikely will you have this transformative kind of a thing. Some people do, like, I had the cancer last winter. Had I not been sailing, had I been hanging out here with a boat on a dock someplace, getting over the cancer probably would get me off my butt, get me sailing. But let's not have to go through that, right? So I want to bring up three of them. The book, Lord of the Rings by Tolkien. Frodo. He's, living in the Shire. He's happy with his life. It would go on forever. No problem. I love my life. And then in comes Gandalf, shakes everything up, and he follows. I just like Lord of the Rings, so I want to talk about that. But I'm going to really concentrate on the other two because they're kind of like more to the point. Luke Skywalker in the original Star Wars. He had responsibilities. He was helping his uncle. We didn't know anything about his backstory at the time, right? He's helping his uncle, fix water vapor collectors so that they could run this arid farming, whatever gig. But he was set up in a life where the sheep would follow the life. He had a little dream to go off and join some space agency, but he wasn't actually doing it. He was letting responsibilities hold him back. And then, in comes the droids and Obi-Wan gets mad and all that. But what's the pivotal event was his family was killed. They killed them. He had nothing there. That let him have agency to say, let's go. Okay, you're not going to get something like that happening. Let's hope, right? And then the final one I want to mention, it's the most current one, is the TV series Breaking Bad. That's I was just rewatching that, and that's what made me think about all this. So Walter White, he's got kind of this dopey life, and he's working way under his abilities as a high school chemistry teacher. And then he finds, I came back around. He got cancer. So to make enough money for his family so that when he died, they'd be taken care of, he starts making drugs. Well, again, that is that rite of passage, that thing, that event that made him go. You're not going to get that. You're going to have to do it yourself because real life doesn't have a writer setting up plot points and making your life make sense. If you want to get from A to B, you have to figure out how to get from A to B. So take agency in your own life. Accept that it's going to be difficult. Start preparing ahead of time. When you buy the boat, think about actually leaving with the boat. When you're working on the boat, don't just focus on that one thing. Have the image of being out there with the boat. Don't let the various things along the way stop you. People will stop because they never find the right boat. Well, there's no perfect boat. They'll stop because, well, my career is too important. Well, if it's important to you, great. If you're happy, great. But don't let it be a crutch. Don't let it hold you back. Don't let it be that nice couch that's going to let you live your life always wanting to do something else until you get to the point where all you can do is shovel soup into your mouth with a dull spoon and watch television. Also, in preparing your boat, realize it doesn't have to be perfect. It has to be good enough that you're safe. It has to be good enough that you can live a life on it and not be struggling, but it's never going to be perfect. Grab some spare parts before you leave, have some tools, develop some know-how, maybe from watching my video series. I personally think I'm trying to give you all the tools you need to be able to be a little more self-sufficient out there. Get yourself ready to go and then go. As soon as you get somewhere, you're going to have way more time. And you can work on the boat as you go. Some people say, I should be a t-shirt, probably was, cruising is taking your boat to strange and exotic places and then fixing it. It's real. Things are going to be failing all the time. Your boat is not going to be 100%. So get it good enough and go. Don't let preparing the boat into this perfect spacecraft that's going to take care of you forever and never need any more attention, stop you from actually going. That is also a safety net. That is something that's giving you excuse to not follow the dream. So what I'm saying is it's important to know that this is going to be a difficult thing. If you think it's going to be trivial and then it becomes a difficult thing, it'll just be this big roadblock for you. So start out, educate yourself, have this image that you're going to go, but it's going to be difficult, and it is. If you're on the East Coast, crossing the Gulf Stream the first time is going to be one of the more terrifying things you've ever done in your life. And let me tell you, it isn't. Pick the weather, make the crossing at night. I have a video, kind of like a video cruising guide that'll get you from Florida all through the Bahamas, help you with those navigation decisions about where to go and where to stop and where to spend the night. And just do it. As you go from the East Coast, life gets easier. So that crossing of the Gulf Stream is going to be terrible, scary, but it's also kind of the toughest crossing you're going to have for a while. Then you're in the Bahamas. The Bahamas are the easiest place on earth to sail a boat. And by the time you get through the Bahamas your first season, you're going to be much more qualified to continue. Or you decide, hey, that's what I want to do, Bahamas and back. Fewer people are doing that because of the cost of the Bahamas lately. I'll do another video on that if you guys ask for it. But it's easier than you think it is. That's what I want to leave you with. It's going to look terrifying. Get over it. Once you get over that bump, over that wall of terror, it's easier and easier and easier as you go. I hope this is helpful. I hope that you all get out there cruising. I know you won't. Deep down, I'm glad you don't, because the world would be all crowded. There wouldn't be any good anchorages anymore. But there still are good anchorages. There's still room out there. If anything, cruising is getting easier all the time with better power equipment, better communications, easier flights, easier abilities to bring parts in. If you want to do this life, go. And if you don't want to do this life, well, you're probably too sane for watching my videos. Bye from Clark on Temptress.